to do the swearing in as well.
Great. Hi, Leon.
Hi.
Okay, we are live on YouTube now. And let me know when you want to start. President Malone, I'll start recording.
Okay. It's my understanding Commissioner Holtzman's going to make every effort to get on this evening.
I believe she's joining by telephone. Hi, Aaron. I assume you have the flag ready to view up. I opened one and two. Just in case.
We always seem to end together, which is a good sign.
Here's a phone number. Maybe this is Carolyn.
There she is.
We're going to just do a quick check before we get started. I see Commissioner Shin, Commissioner Black, myself, and I see a phone number ending in 739. Potentially that's Commissioner Holtzman. I'd like to identify if that's her. We can.
39, yes, that should be Commissioner Holtzman.
Carolyn, if you can hear us, hello and welcome. I see that you're muted on your screen, on the screen here, so I'm not sure how that would unmute. If you would like to, at any point when you feel like speaking, you'll definitely want to unmute yourself. There we go. Hi, Carolyn.
Hi, Dean.
Hi, good to hear from you. And then I see that Commissioner Kutz just showed up on the screen. Commissioner Kutz, when you have a minute to let me know if you're kind of here, we'll go ahead and get started. That brings all of us into the meeting.
Good evening. I am here.
All right. All right. I think I hear something in the background somewhere. Like a TV or something like that. Okay. It looks like all the commissioners are here and we have plenty of staff, and it looks like we have staff from the public or otherwise. I'm going to call this meeting, Lower Allen Township Board of Commissioners regular meeting of January 11th, 2021 to order. Proof of publication is available for this meeting. We begin our meeting with a prayer and a pledge of allegiance. Prior to the prayer, I would just like to send my condolences to all those that are suffering right now, not only from the pandemic that we've been in, but also from some of the events lately, particularly down in Washington, D.C. And our hearts go out to those who've been affected by that, by this process and what's going on in the wake of it. We certainly feel for those folks. So let's pray. We pray this day to give thanks for all the many blessings bestowed upon our township. Watch over us who are entrusted with the administration of this township. Create in us the earnest desire to serve faithfully and permit us to experience the joys of noble service completed for our residents. Encourage cooperation from those who are served and from those who serve. Help us to use every willing service and every effort put forth for good government. Heavenly Father, we ask your guidance to help us as commissioners to make the right decisions. We ask that you aid our staff as they perform the daily tasks of running our township, and we request that you be by our first responders as they protect our residents and see that they return home safe at the end of each day. In your name we pray, amen. And I believe we're going to have a flag on the screen, so if you would like to stand with us for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to
Allegiance
the flag
to the United States of America
America.
and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God,
Indivisible.
indivisible, with liberty,
and
justice for all.
Terrific. Welcome, everybody, particularly those from the public. Just note, there's a couple points on our agenda that are common where the audience participation is welcomed on the agenda. And the first one will be on number 6, if you're interested in speaking about anything that's on the agenda. And then later on throughout our agenda, there's an opportunity for any business, perhaps that may not be on our agenda, but pertinent to the township. You have the opportunity to speak and contribute in that way to this public meeting. So I'll thank you in advance for your cooperation and your contributions. Commissioners, this past week, we received in our packets our meeting minutes from December 28th, 2020. And if you've gone over them, had a chance to review them, if there's no changes, additions, etc., I'd be looking for a motion to approve the minutes from December 28th.
So moved.
Second,
I have a motion to approve the minutes of December 28th from Commissioner Black and a second from Commissioner Shin. Is there any further discussion on the minutes? Okay, all those in favor, please say aye.
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 Any opposed? The motion carries 5-0. At this point this evening, we've got a lieutenant promotional ceremony. And for those of you that don't know, they arranged this so it is going to happen in George's Hall. Captain Crown and some folks are down there, and I believe we're joined by the Honorable Judge Delosier, correct? All right. How you doing, Judge? Good to have you with us. So, Leon, I'll give it to you.
Mr. President, it's an honor and a privilege to present to you tonight Sergeant Doug Foltz and Corporal Sentman to be promoted to the rank of lieutenant within the department. I will turn it here. Yes, DJ Delosier is here to do the oath of office, and I'll turn it over now to Captain Crone down in Gorgas.
Thank you, Director, for picking that up for me. Captain Crone?
Yes, good evening. It's our pleasure to promote these gentlemen. They've been through an exhaustive selection process and have prevailed and represent the future leadership of our department. So without further ado, we'll turn this over to Magisterial District Judge Delosier as he will first swear in Sergeant Foltz to his lieutenant's position.
Terrific.
Probably want to see you on screen now. All right. You repeat after me. I
I, Doug Foltz,
do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will support, obey, and defend
that I will support, obey, and defend
the Constitution of the United States,
the Constitution of the United States,
the Constitution of this Commonwealth,
the Constitution of this Commonwealth,
and the ordinances of Lower Allen County,
and the ordinances of Lower Allen Township.
and that I will discharge the duties of my office
I will discharge the duties of my office
with fidelity
with fidelity,
and without consideration
without consideration
to a person's race,
to a person's race,
color,
color,
sex,
sex,
religious creed,
religious creed,
sexual orientation,
sexual orientation,
age,
age,
national ancestry,
national ancestry,
handicap, or disability.
handicap, or disability.
As a lieutenant for the Lower Allen Township Police Department,
As a lieutenant for the Lower Allen Township Police Department,
Cumberland County, Pennsylvania.
Cumberland County, Pennsylvania.
Congratulations, Lieutenant.
Lieutenant, may I be the first on this board up here in the Zoom meeting to congratulate you for your accomplishments and your service to Lower Allen Township. And I would certainly open up the floor right now to the rest of the commissioners and staff or anyone else in attendance.
Congratulations, Lieutenant. We're proud of you.
Congratulations, Doug.
Congratulations, Lieutenant.
As is congratulations. Now Doug's wife, Nicole, bars on him. While she's doing that, I'm going to steal this sergeant's badge away from him. Place it with this lieutenant's badge. Now we present to you Lieutenant Foltz. All right, if we could call Simon to the front, please. All right, we'll do our second one. I'm going to call you D here. She'll call you Mr. Simon. Okay. I state your name.
I, Donald J. Sentman,
Do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will support, obey, and defend
that I will support, obey, and defend
the Constitution of the United States,
the Constitution of the United States,
the Constitution of this Commonwealth,
the Constitution of this Commonwealth,
and the ordinances of Lower Allen Township,
and the ordinances of Lower Allen Township,
and that I will discharge the duties of my office
and that I will discharge the duties of my office
with fidelity
with fidelity
and without consideration
and without consideration
to a person's race,
to a person's race,
color,
color,
sex,
sex,
religious creed,
religious creed,
sexual orientation,
sexual orientation,
age,
age,
national origin,
national origin,
ancestry,
ancestry,
handicap,
handicap,
or disability.
or disability.
As a lieutenant
As a lieutenant
of Lower Allen Township,
for Lower Allen Township,
Cumberland County.
Cumberland County. Thank you, sir.
Lieutenant, again, may I be the first to congratulate you not only on your accomplishments, but for your service to Lower Allen Township, our residents, and anyone else that you encounter. Thank you so much for your service. And of course, I would welcome the commissioners or anyone else joining us this evening to also make comments.
Thank you.
Congratulations, Lieutenant. We're proud of you. Thank you for your service.
Congratulations, Lieutenant.
Thank you.
Congratulations, Lieutenant. Welcome aboard.
Congratulations, Lieutenant.
Thank you.
And again, as is tradition, Lieutenant Sentman's wife Emily will be here to pin the collar brass, and I will remove this badge from him. Oh, yeah.
It's all right. Take all the time you need.
Oh, too soon.
All right.
There we go.
Thank you. Congratulations again, Lieutenant. Thank you. Captain Crone, is that a presentation from Georges Hall this evening?
That will be it from here. We're going to punch into the park for a second so that we can take some pictures of the and
That's terrific. Again, give Judge Delosier our best regards. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good job, Captain.
Ladies and gentlemen, we'll move on our agenda. Looks like they've left the meeting. Next on our agenda is employee recognitions. We have several this evening. Before we move forward with these, I would just like to know if we are aware of any of the folks receiving these employee recognitions for length of service this evening, if they're in attendance.
Let me check the waiting room real quick, because I didn't see any of them come in.
Scott's here, I think.
Well, Scott is here for performance recognition, but the length of service, I don't believe we have anybody.
Okay.
So if you want to read one of the letters, President Malone, and then just mention the name and the years of service, you don't have to read all the letters.
I will. I'm going to go ahead and at the beginning, skip over to Scott Emerson and read his letter. And then I will go back through and read the names of everyone receiving the length of service awards this evening. So Scott, thanks for joining us. Scott's our facilities manager in the maintenance department here in Lower Allen Township. Scott, this correspondence is written as a commendation letter for taking on tasks above and beyond the parameters of your normal job duties. When the Development Authority purchased the Bonton property, you were a valuable resource to the Development Authority in dealing with contractors, turning off the utilities to the property and working to rewire electricity to the outside lighting and a sewer pump at the Bonefish restaurant. You were described by one consultant as worth your weight in gold, maybe twice your weight. You went above and beyond to make a difference on the Bonton project, which is not a township-owned property. During this same time frame, the township began a project to expand the public works facility with 9,000 square feet of garage, bay, and storage space. To save money, the expansion was designed to allow as much work to be completed in-house as possible. You heated up the electrical and other work and saved the township over $56,000 in contractor costs.
Fantastic.
As you work on these two additional projects, you continued to perform your regular repair and maintenance duties for all the other township properties. Your actions not only speak to the pride you have in your position within the township, but to your individual strength of character as well. The township manager has recommended we approve this commendation letter and corresponding monetary award for your actions. It is with great honor that we hereby concur with the recommendation and recognize you accordingly. And signed by me, but certainly the sentiment of every single commissioner and many of those that you have affected by your hard work. So thank you very much, sir.
Congratulations, Scott.
Thank you.
Pretty
Thank
good.
you to everyone. It's highly appreciated.
At this time, I'm going to read not the actual letters, but the names of those folks within Lower Allen Township that will be, we're recognizing. First, Officer Temanowski, there's a letter honoring her 5 years of service to Lower Allen Township. Next, Tori Shiley, also in the police department, for 5 years of service to Lower Allen Township. Next is Robert Hampshire, 10 years of service to Lower Allen Township. Next is Katie Just in the police department as well, honoring 15 years of service to Lower Allen Township. Aaron Duncan in the fleet department. I'm sorry, my apologies. Aaron is a commendation letter as well, but not for length of service. Is that correct, Mr. Manager?
That is correct. Aaron actually has received 2 commendation letters for 2 different projects that he worked on. This is for innovation and saving the township money. If you wanted to read them into the record, you could.
I would gladly do that. Dear Aaron, this correspondence is written as a commendation letter for the innovative efforts you put forth in designing and constructing a step system for the transport van. It is our understanding that when the police department received their new prisoner transport van, they were looking to get a rear step made to enable the prisoners to get in and out of the van easily. You took the initiative and spent a considerable amount of time and energy designing and constructing a rear step system that could be folded up and down. This provided easier access to enter and exit the rear of the transport van. Your actions not only speak to the pride you have in your position within the township, but to your individual strength and character as well. The recognition committee has recommended we approve this commendation letter and corresponding monetary award for your actions. It is with great honor that we hereby concur with the recommendation and recognize you accordingly. Thank you, Aaron.
Thank you, Aaron.
Aaron actually has a couple of commendation, or yeah, no, that one's a duplicate. And then we read Scott's, and I think that concludes our letters of commendation for this evening. Is that correct, Mr. Manager?
That is correct.
Okay. Well, again, thank you to all of those for your years of service to Lower Allen Township, and of course, for those who've gotten the commendation letters from the township for going above and beyond as well. We thank you again.
Thank you very much.
At this point on our agenda is the place where if there's any item that's on our agenda that you wish to participate in, if you're here with us from the public, now's your time to let us know what that item is, and we will make sure when that item comes up, there will be an opportunity for you to contribute to the conversation. Is there anyone here this evening to participate on any item on the agenda? If so, please notify either Aaron Troun or the manager, Tom Verneau, in the, I believe it's a chat box. Is that correct?
Sure. Yep. They can also put their hand up.
Okay.
A little.
We'll give it a minute, or not a minute, but we'll give it a little time here to see if anyone responds.
Bruce Sechrist that would like to speak.
Okay. Did he notify us on which item on the agenda?
I'm sure it's the. It is the map.
9B.
9B. Okay, Bruce Sechrist. Okay. Anyone else here to speak on an agenda item? Seeing none, we'll move on, and we may give a little flexibility if somebody comes into the meeting later and had some trouble getting in. So when we get to 9B, we'll recognize Bruce. Under your president this evening, I've got 3 items ready to go here. One, I'd be looking for a motion to approve the check register of December 31st, 2020 in the amount of $137,298.42.
So moved.
Second,
I have a motion by Commissioner Shin, a second by Commissioner Black. All those in favor, please say aye.
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 Any opposed? Motion carries 5-0. Next, I'll be looking for a motion to approve the retirement of Township Engineer and Public Works Director Daniel J. Flint, effective April 30th, 2021.
So moved. Happy for him. Sorry for us.
Second with regret, Stan.
I have a motion and a second. The motion is by Commissioner Shin, the second by Commissioner Black to accept Mr. Flint's approval for retirement. All those, any comments? This
Thanks,
point?
Dan, for everything.
Okay. All those in favor, please say aye.
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 Any opposed? Motion carries 5-0. Director Flint, I know you'll be with us through the end of April, and I look forward to having some more good conversations with you. And I do just want to thank you for your service to Lower Allen Township. You had a long career here, and also I want to thank you for being able to provide me with some of the knowledge that I have needed to understand some of the things going on in the township. So thank you. Next on under your president, it's up for discussion and possible action, but resolution 2021-R-01, hiring of EMT Jacob Meyer for the Public Safety Department. This is something that had, I believe, came up in a prior meeting, and I'm not so sure if the director has any further comments on this or not. Director Hall, I'd be referring to.
This is actually a replacement position. And so it's just to continue to bring our complement up to the budgeted number 11. This would bring it up to 10.
If Dave, if I can, and I think we're still looking for one more person, are we not?
We are to fill the complement would be another position, which would be later.
This one actually would replace Marie Kalaman, who.
This position does, and then the next position would replace Molly.
Yes.
Got it. All right.
Make a motion that we approve resolution 2021-R-01, hiring EMT Jacob Meyer for the Public Safety Department.
Second,
I have a motion by Commissioner Sin, a second by Commissioner Black. Is there any further comments or discussion? All those in favor, please say aye.
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 Any opposed? Motion carries 5-0. At this point on our agenda is we leave room for anyone to participate regarding any business pertinent to the township, and it doesn't necessarily have to be on the agenda. Is there anyone joining us this evening that would like to talk or participate regarding any business pertinent to Lower Allen Township? We'll give it a few seconds here. And Ms. Trone or Mr. Verneau, if you'll just let us know if there's anyone speaking up in the chat room. I don't have that view.
Not right now. We do have we had somebody who was in the waiting room.
Commissioner Kushner?
No, Mr. Farland just joined the meeting.
Okay.
Am I muted?
There it is. There's Arnold Kushner.
I'm good. Not tonight, the next meeting.
Okay, sir. So am I understanding correctly that there's no one here to speak on any business pertinent to the township at this time?
That's correct.
Okay, thank you. We'll move on and we'll leave a little flexibility in there in case somebody joins us later. Under community and economic development, I'll leave this up to either Director Flint or anyone else he's assigned to kind of lead us through these discussions.
This is Erin Trone. I have the first item. This is the update for the Cumberland County Hazard Mitigation Plan.
Okay.
This is a plan that the county puts together where it kind of reviews population density, weather patterns, what kind of building facilities are in the county that could cause some hazards for us. So it's looking at both man-made and natural disasters, and they kind of cross them together and develop a risk assessment to determine how likely some of these hazards are to happen, and if they do happen, how bad they would be. And then they come up with a risk assessment, and then they kind of make a plan from there. And the point of this is to develop your resiliency prior to a hazard. That's the pre-planning. And then it's different from an emergency response plan, which would come after a disaster. Sometimes it get confused, but they're two different things. And the last time we adopted this was in 2014. And the county does, or it's good practice to do an update to a plan about every 5 years because demographics change, buildings change. So they want to review that to update it. So this is kind of the update to the 2014 plan. It's important for each municipality to adopt it so we can be eligible for certain grant funding. And so it's available tonight if you want to take action on it, or we have some time. We don't have to adopt it tonight. There is what I thought was kind of boils down to the summary here of, let's see. Can you see that, the risk assessment here?
Yes.
Yes.
So they determined that most likely the biggest impact is our winter storms, probably because they happen more frequently, they're more likely to happen, they could be widespread. So that's the biggest risk for Cumberland County. And you can see they have a number of different risks that they have fleshed out with the risk factor, all the way down to the bottom being dam failure. And then after they do this, they also then flesh it out based on each of the municipalities.
Mm-hmm.
And you can see Lower Allen, and they give you a greater than or less than what the Cumberland County countywide assessment is. And Lower Allen is actually higher in a number of categories other than wildfire than the rest of the county. But you need to keep in mind that the rest of the county is also much more rural than Lower Allen. We have a fairly large municipality, 10 square miles with a fairly high population densities. The boroughs are more dense than us, but they have smaller land mass. So because of that, we kind of floated to the top in many of these. Plus, we have some vulnerable facilities, the prison. We have the dairy farmers. There's other entities here that we need to be careful of. Okay. So that's really the gist of the hazard mitigation. I don't know, Dave Hall, you're the head of our EOC coordinator. If you have any comments that you want to add to that. I got involved in this a long time ago because I was in urban planning, so it came up, but there's several of us that are involved in the hazard mitigation planning for the county.
Karen, if I could just, the only thing I can add is that we were involved in this from the early stages of the county announcing that they were rewriting their plan. And as Aaron said, the plan rewrite is required by PEMA essentially. And you have to have a plan in effect to be eligible for any grant money. So if there's disasters, they put aside mitigation money. We've utilized mitigation money in the past to do some purchases. We would then be not eligible to do that if it would be not for the fact that the board approves a current plan. And it's easier to adopt the county plan, and the county reaches out and involves us pretty extensively in that. We had a lot of input into this as it went along, and I feel comfortable that this is a good plan.
Director, do you see any reason we shouldn't approve that tonight?
I do not see any reason, Commissioner. I think it would be worthwhile having it adopted.
Mr. President, I'm ready to make that motion
Okay.
that we approve resolution 2021 R04, 2020 Cumberland County Hazard Mitigation Plan update.
second,
I have a motion on resolution 2021 R04 by Commissioner Shin, a second by Commissioner Black. Is there any further discussion on this item? Okay, all those in favor of approving the mitigation plan, please say aye.
Aye.
aye,
Any opposed? Motion carries 5-0. Thank you. Moving on, Aaron, and I apologize for just making the assumption that we were under engineering. So are you going to handle the leading us through B as
Actually, I
well,
think it's going to be John.
Mr. Eby?
John
Okay,
on.
thank you.
Mr. Eby.
Mr. President, in addition to Mr. Sechrist, who announced earlier he would like to speak on this issue, we have Christine Hunter on the meeting as well, who I believe is representing the plant.
Okay. Okay, so I think what we'll do is if Mr. Sechrist had some prepared comments or comments that he had already planned on making, be happy to let him kind of go first. And then otherwise, I think it would be appropriate, perhaps, if he's not prepared and just wanted to be a part of the discussion, potentially, that we let Mr. Eby start this conversation off. So I'm curious to know if Mr. Sechrist has something prepared already to say or talk about regarding this item.
Yes.
Yes, okay. So I want to go ahead and let Mr. Sechrist make his comments.
Okay, good evening.
Welcome, Mr. Sechrist.
Thank you. I'd like to speak on ordinance 2102 zoning map amendment application for 701 Belmont Street. My name is Bruce Sechrist. I live at 5225 Wilson Lane. And I trust that each commissioner had the opportunity to visit the property in question at 701 Belmont Street. Because of the limited access to that area, Linden Avenue is the typical port of entry for that area. Linden Avenue, the location of the existing multi-dwelling that was discussed at length at the November 23rd meeting, is a wide and fairly well-maintained thoroughfare. Actually, Linden is wide enough to accommodate two-way traffic and on-street parking. From Linden Avenue, you make a right turn onto Belmont Street, the location of the parcel in question. When you make the turn, what do you notice? Well, first of all, you notice a tremendous difference when comparing Linden to Belmont. As the township's building and zoning coordinator described the streets in this area, quote, these are minor residential streets that were not built or only partially built to township standards. Belmont Street can best be described as a lane. I estimate the actual hard top surface on Belmont is about 50 to 60% of the width of Linden. And unlike Linden, Belmont has no curbing. It's in disrepair. It does not accommodate two-way traffic, nor does it accommodate on-street parking. As was stated earlier, it was not built to township standards. I think you also need to reflect on the comments made at the November 23rd meeting by the neighbors. Quote, if you meet someone coming in, you either have to go on someone's driveway or drive in their yard, unquote. Quote, the roads are substandard, unquote. Quote, it is very narrow. The road is not well maintained, unquote. And quote, only one car can pass through there, unquote. Next, I think we need to focus on the property itself at 701 Belmont Street. If you looked at it, I'm confident your reaction after viewing the property conforms with the unanimous agreement voiced at the November 23rd meeting. The township's building and zoning coordinator stated, "The house in the lot is blighted and unoccupied." The equitable owner commented, quote, "The house is uninhabitable. The grounds are in tremendous need of repair," unquote, and quote, "It needs to be burnt down," unquote. And quote, "The property that is there at 701 Belmont is hurting the value of their properties," unquote. The neighborhood residents and property owners agree that this property is blighted and is having a negative impact on the community. With that said, the questions must be asked. Why would the rezoning proposal be put on the table? Would it be this proposal be put on the table if the property was properly maintained? And does it make any sense to disrupt the nature and character of this neighborhood by rezoning if the property were maintained? I think not. So it's rather surprising to me that the township has not used every tool in the toolbox to aggressively address this blight and hold the owner accountable for the negative impact on this established single-family residential neighborhood. Rezoning should not financially reward the property owners who neglect, nor should it be the first tool used by the township to address remediation of blighted property. Now, standing in front of 701 Belmont, you would see 7 occupied single-family dwellings. This is a family-friendly neighborhood. Those families made a decision to live in a single-family community, not in a multi-family community. You will note that not one of the neighbor residents has embraced this proposal at the November 23rd meeting. And we should also have empathy for the family that resides at the corner of Belmont and Linden. If approved, this single-family home will be the neighbor of 2 multifamily units. Now, there's much discussion about adjacent multifamily units to 701 Belmont. The equitable owner consultant advanced the theory that rezoning was okay because there was an adjacent multifamily unit, quote, east of the subject property. Again, the adjacent multifamily property is on Linden, not Belmont. Then the equitable owner testified, quote, "When I looked at the property, I took 3 builders there that I have dealt with and have built for me. They showed no interest for 3 reasons." I continue the quote. "Number 1 was the geographics of the community and the disrepair of the streets, and so on and so forth. The closeness of the multifamily, that was a concern to them, and the cost of tearing down the home down," unquote. And earlier in the 23rd meeting, the equitable owner stated, "I looked at the quote, I looked at the property. I did take 3 builders over there to take a look. There was no interest because the R3 zoning that surrounds the property," unquote. So on one hand, his consultant advances the thought that rezoning is okay because of the adjacent multifamily unit on Linden Avenue. On the other hand, the 3 builders had no interest because the R3 zoning that surrounds the property. So does the R3 zoning help or hurt the single-family residential community? Well, at least 3 builders and all the neighbors believe R3 zoning will have a negative impact on this neighborhood. Public safety is the next area I'd like to talk about. The Cumberland County Planning Department, in the testimony, there was a quote that said, "Prior to consider the rezoning request, we recommend that the emergency service providers review the proposed rezoning request to verify that adequate service can be provided. The emergency service providers should," emphasis added, "consider the existing street width and the maneuverability of equipment." The Township Building Zoning Coordinator on the 23rd stated, quote, "The township engineer and I met today with the chief of the Fire Company 12, which is Lower Island Fire Department, the fire captain, and the public service director. And the result of that discussion was that Truck 12 which is our biggest piece of apparatus, that would have the hardest time getting around the intersection and making the turn, that emphasis added, they were satisfied if the applicant could demonstrate that truck 12 could get onto the property through the proposed access drive. They already knew it could get up to Belmont from Linden. Obviously, Linden's the street that was right beside the firehouse, and they know that they could get up there. It's a wide street. On this issue, the consultant stated, quote, "There are comments made about emergency access to the site. We use software to demonstrate that the fire truck or township fire truck and the largest fire truck can access the site." Continuing the quote, "This is a template created by software using Lower Island Township fire truck information that was provided to us by Dan Flint. And it shows that it can access the site and parking lot. And I just documented the information that was provided to us that was used to create the template." I might add that that was part of a handout that the consultant made, and it's about 3 pages, has a graphic and a lot of information about the fire truck. End of quote. Since public service is a concern and correctly raised by the county and the fire service, I believe it would be important for the consultant to identify the name of the software used to create the exhibit. And while the key components of the fire trucks, which are more than well documented in her handout, are included in the handout, the key and essential measurements of the street and intersection were not provided. As the county noted, the emergency service providers should, quote, "consider the existing street width and maneuverability of the equipment," unquote. Again, width and length of Belmont were not documented or disclosed in the exhibit. The exhibit appears to overestimate the width of the entire length of Belmont Street, and neighbors remain skeptical that truck 12 could adequately navigate and maneuver on Belmont. As you may recall from community testimony, Belmont is a narrow thoroughfare. It is difficult, extremely difficult for 2 vehicles to pass in the street, and it does not accommodate street parking. It is even difficult for garbage collectors and delivery trucks to navigate and maneuver on Belmont. And as the Township Building and Zoning Officer said, quote, "These are minor residential streets that are not built and only partially built to township standards," unquote. So the open questions about the streets are, and public safety, has the township independently and unequivocally determined that and documented that truck 12 can safely navigate and maneuver the entire length of Belmont Street? And has public safety tried to access the property with truck 12? My next comment are about the equitable owner. I commend the equitable owner for being forthright in his November 23rd testimony. Succinctly, the equitable owner views this as an opportunity to develop this parcel with a multifamily project. We all know that he is contemplating a project to make a profit. He concludes it would be not profitable for him to develop the parcel as a single family home. His experience tells him the size of the potential profit relates directly to the number of units built on the parcel. Obviously, 6 units are better than 4 and much better than 2. The ability to make a profit by the equitable owner is the primary driver for this rezoning initiative. And we should acknowledge with respect that his willingness to risk his capital for the project. That's a good thing. But this willingness should not be rewarded with rezoning changes to this neighborhood. The property owner. What about the property owner of 701 Belmont Street? This owner certainly hasn't been part of the process, and the owner is responsible for the blighted property. And apparently the property owner has not been held accountable for the blighted property. Further, the property owner's neglect has placed a significant burden on the neighborhood which may result in a significant change in the fabric of this community. His inaction may create dramatic changes in that community. I would ask, should the owner be financially rewarded by rezoning? Because the lot will command a higher price if the request for R3 designation is approved? I think not. So what about this particular neighborhood? Is it really in the best interest of this neighborhood, which has endured substandard infrastructure, narrow and poorly maintained streets, to be disrupted for the financial benefit of the current owner and potentially the equitable owner? I think that was really answered by the three builders quoted by the equitable owner as, quote, "there is no interest because of R3 zoning." They thought it wasn't really prudent to put a single family home on there because R3 zoning was beside the property, but yet we want to put another R3 zoning property in that community. So my recommendations to the township: plan some upgrades so the neighborhood streets are improved and try to bring them up to township standards. I think you need to protect the integrity of the single family neighborhood by rejecting the zoning request. And please don't allow the owner to profit from negligence and hold the owner accountable for the blight. Use every tool to encourage the owner to bring the property up to code. Lastly, let the economics of supply and demand work its will. At the right price, the property owner will be able to attract someone to put a new single family home. It might not be the price that the equitable owner is willing to pay to insert a multifamily unit on that piece of property. So let the free market do its will and don't reward the owner for that neglect. So thanks for your time. I'm hopeful your decision will not change the fabric and character of this single family neighborhood. Thank you so much.
Mr. Segrist, thank you for participating here this evening. And obviously you put some time into your words. And so at this point, I'm going to, John, Evie, are you listening? If you are, I'm going to turn it over to you right now to just give us the background again for everybody's sake, so if we're going to have a discussion on this. I appreciate it.
Thank you, President Vallone, and good evening. First, let me state that the township did not initiate any zoning change request. It was the request of the equitable owner, as Mr. Segrist correctly stated. The fee simple owner consents to the application, but did not participate. An application was filed, a fee was paid. It's the right under the zoning code and the state planning code for a property owner to ask for rezoning. So I just want to make it clear the township was part of the process by having staff initiate the public review steps, but we were not an active part of making the application. And also, as Mr. Segrist stated, the property is blighted. I know we worked on it as a blighted property a number of years ago, and the home was repaired and occupied. Quite frankly, till the public hearing process came up, I'm not aware of, and I don't believe we have any active complaints from neighbors about the blight. So there was no direct correlation of any township policy to support or use rezoning as a tool. Admittedly, if a whole neighborhood is blighted and it could have a higher or better use with rezoning, that might be a staff recommendation and a county recommendation, but that's not the case for this one specific isolated property. I will note also that Manager Gnote and I participated in a Cumberland County blighted property web meeting last week, and we are in the process of updating the list of blighted properties in Low Round Township. So that's taking a track irrespective of any decision you might make for or against the request. So then that gets you to the memo that was in your board packet, which I prepared. And for the sake of the public that is participating, it was merely stating the background of when the public hearing was held. It reminded the commissioners that we had transcripts and exhibits available for review, which were disseminated and reviewed. The public had access to these same documents. And then I outlined, because I know some of the commissioners are newer and haven't had many experiences with rezoning, I let you know that your options are to leave the item on the table, which you've chosen to bring it off the table. Well, it's on the agenda for discussion. It was tabled, so you could leave it on the table. You could put it back on the table. You could discuss it tonight. Deliberation, you would discuss the pros and cons of what the comments and the public statements have indicated. And you could decide to reach a decision. If you have consensus, either for or against the request, the typical procedure Lower Island Township follows is to have the board authorize the solicitor to prepare an adjudication that basically cites facts that were found during the course of the hearing and conclusions of law, and that creates a written record of the basis for your decision, either to approve or disapprove the request. And then you would typically have it on a subsequent agenda. You would vote on the adjudication first, and then you would have a roll call vote on the actual ordinance. If you would be inclined to approve the ordinance, staff recommendation is typically to publish a notice of an adopted ordinance, because under Pennsylvania land use law, there's a sunset provision where if someone were aggrieved by a land use decision, such as zoning, subdivision, or land development amendments, you wouldn't be like 5 years down the road and someone says, oh, I just found out about a zoning amendment, I want to appeal. There's a sunset time period in there. So I think we've done a good job educating the public. There was good public participation. So there's nothing more I have to say other than it's up to the commissioners collectively to decide if you want to have a discussion tonight to deliberate, defer it to a later date. That's all up to your preferences. Thank you.
Thank you, John. I appreciate the input, and I think at this point, I mean, I'll open this up to the commissioners. If there's any comments or questions on this item, perhaps we can get some of our questions answered or have some discussions. Now would be that time.
Well, Mr. President, I was not at the, I was suffering with COVID and I was not at the hearing. I assure you, I have read the transcript numerous times with maybe 45 minutes of comments and discussion, which I will spare us all and not go through every item. Mr. Sechrist brought up much of what I was looking at as well. He highlighted the fabric and character of the neighborhood, and having visited the site a few weeks ago, it is very obvious that that there are sections in Harrisburg Manor that lend themselves to each other. The one home that Mr. Sechrist mentioned, which is a very nice home, immediately across, Belmont from the property in question. It's a very nice house, and because the Belmont property is zoned the same as the house across the street, it makes sense that they are across the street from each other. And I think that we do a disservice to the community if we begin to encroach upon the single family, very nice neighborhood that they've been able to establish. Now, just because I also heard and read the staff's concern about infrastructure. Of course, Mr. Seacrest mentioned that again tonight. The roads are not good. They're not terribly passable. There was other folks in the public hearing that talked about the same thing. I think that that Lower Allen Township, if we want to make the neighborhood even nicer for a change, maybe we could go ahead and spend some effort looking at Harrisburg Manor and correcting the issues that are there. And get the residents together and talk about what can be done and what they're willing to do. I think Mr. Seacrest's comment that the answer to a blighted property, I'm not putting words in his mouth, but I think I'm getting close, that the answer to a blighted property is to deal with the blight, not rezone so that a developer makes some money on a parcel. I don't think that that's necessarily the township's position, that we want to make sure that we see that somebody makes money there. And if somebody wants to come in and build, not to resell, but to build for themselves, perhaps there's a way to do that. I just don't, and really, the zoning is very formal back there, and to turn around and do this would not make sense to me as a layman. Yet I'm not that bad. So I would tell you that I'm not in favor of this rezone, because even though it was very nice of the applicant to provide the very detailed rezoning request, but we know that this could go by the wayside. This does not have to be done once we rezone once we would rezone the property. The fact of the matter is, there could be single family detached, 2 family side-by-side dwellings, 2 family attached dwellings. We could have multi-family dwellings. We could have various more commercial projects. So I think that we should, and the fact of the matter is, there are residents back there, none of whom are excited about having this development in their neighborhood, and they are taxpayers in Lower Allen Township. So I think my ear. They've got my ear, and I'm willing to listen and stand up for them. Mr. President, I think I could have gone through all 16, but that's not necessary.
Okay, thank you, Commissioner. If there's anything else, feel free to jump back in. I'm going to jump in real quick. Mr. Seacrest brought up about the property, and I think John Eby touched on it. I have a question. When I had taken a look at the parcel with the property there, has the township, are there things in place where the township would be sending, and if so, have we been sending any notifications to the property owner, maybe not in the recent past, but in the past, regarding this property? And if obviously, if we did it, it was probably appropriate to do so. But is there a threshold in which we would start addressing Mr. Seacrest's concern about the property being blighted in the first place?
Yes, Commissioner, I believe I indicated that process is underway with consideration of listing the property as a blighted property. A vacant property is not blighted per se, but from the testimony that the house is not habitable, we will have property maintenance inspectors take a look at it, and there are conditions that need to be corrected externally that can be corrected. Internally, if the house isn't habitable, then that could be also a reason to list it as a blighted property and require the owner to either correct the violation or remove the building.
Okay, I was just curious, since Mr. Secrets had brought it up, I didn't have it, at least in the front of my mind. Maybe I've heard that before. But that's, at this time, that's all the comment I have. Any of the other, excuse me, commissioners have any comments on this possible rezoning or the zoning map amendment application for 701 Belmont?
Mr. President, I have one question. And if you said there's a representative for the plan here, I'm curious, and I apologize if I missed this at the hearing. I didn't think I did, though, going through the transcript. Why was a variance not requested? Is there something that precludes us from granting or precludes the zoning hearing board from granting a variance rather than going through with an all-out zoning change?
This is Christine Hunter. I represent the applicant. A variance is a different process than a rezoning. So to request a variance, that would mean that the owner would have a hardship, that they wouldn't be able to develop it in any other manner than what they're requesting. That we probably would not have be able to prove hardship to be able to develop it as a multifamily. So it's a different process. There are different requirements for it. What I will say, if I could just maybe reiterate some of our rationale in the request and answer just respond to a couple of items that Mr. Sechrist noted in his comments. Well, first, it is in an area where there are multifamily units. There is a multifamily development just adjacent. It's a mixed area where there's single family and multifamily. And granted, there is not multifamily fronting on Belmont Street, but an adjacent property is multifamily. And there are a significant number of multifamily developments right in this area. I believe that the property has been on the market for a while. I don't know why no one has bought it and chosen to develop it as a single family. The market does have to reflect what the market will bear, or what somebody wants to do with it. It will improve the site. The proposed rezone is consistent with the county comprehensive plan. It meets a need for smaller housing units, which we have seen really across this community, not just in Lower Allen, but in the greater Harrisburg area for smaller living units. That's just where the demand is right now, where a good demand is right now. So those were some of the things that we thought was in the benefit, were indicative of this proposal. As far as getting down to a couple of the specifics on access, the intersection of Linden and Belmont Street, the width of Belmont Street there is wider than the rest of the street. So fire trucks can access Belmont Street. This particular property, the access is very close to that wider portion of the street. So the software that we use, and we use it, it's recognized by all the municipalities that we deal with. It's called AutoTurn. It's an Autodesk product that's part of computer-aided CAD that is just, generally used in the trade and is accepted in municipalities. Did show that the truck with the dimensions that were provided to us from the township could access our site through our driveway, through Belmont Street, and then through our driveway. Certainly, moving forward, we'd have more
specifics on those kinds of things. Right now, it is still a sketch, but based on a scaled sketch. So we did use accepted software. And then another possibility that was recommended to us by township staff, which my understanding is that our client would consider is actually accessing from Linden Street rather than Belmont Street. There's an unopened alleyway there. There's an unopened roadway there that they could use for access to the site if the township felt that that was important.
Ms. Hunter, nice to see you here with us again. Commissioner Kutz, did you get your question answered?
I did. Thank you. It's the hardship, which and not yet an expert in zoning law, so I can't tell you what can or cannot be a hardship. So but that's an acceptable explanation to me. My follow-up question would be, and thank you, Ms. Hunter, for your comments. I'm curious. I didn't know. Much of my concern has to do with the infrastructure of Belmont Street. I've been back to the property several times, and that's my concern, is adding an additional 12, 15 cars in there, and the difficulties coming in and out. Is the unopened street, and I don't know if you're familiar with the streets there, or Mr. Evie perhaps, would that be an extension off of Windsor Place?
That is, I believe, the correct street. It's a north-south street developed to reasonable standard that runs north-south. It intersects Linden, and Linden is built to, I believe, township standards. So it would be a northerly projection to the east of the neighboring multifamily dwelling unit.
Mr. Segrist, are you still there?
Yes.
Do you mind if I ask you a question, sir? And of course, I know you can't presume to speak on behalf of your neighbors as well, but I'm curious if an access that would not include a Belmont Street access would be more favorable. I understand the litany of other concerns, and I have those as well, but I'm wondering if that is something that perhaps might alleviate some of those concerns. If there's either no access from Belmont Street, or else there's access at both Belmont and this off of Windsor Place.
Well, I would have to answer it this way, and I can't speak for anyone else, but if Windsor Place were opened, would it fill the whole, when the plot plans, would it take care of all of Windsor Place to its termination? I mean, that's one of the things that I would ask. But the other thing is, quite frankly, you have the structure that was proposed by the I'll call him the developer, the equitable owner, I guess. I learned another term in my life. The property and the development of the property is still going to be sitting between two single-family homes. It's going to be across the street from several single-family homes. And for what purpose? In my mind, the purpose is it's really economics, because the property owner has failed to take care of the property. The market being what it is, a developer came in and said, hey, I can get maybe a half an acre here and do something that does not conform to community standards or the fabric of the neighborhood. And I just think that's wrong. So how do you get there? I guess it would make more sense to develop that street if it would be up to the standards of the township, and all the cars would go in that way. But you still have the living conditions of the neighbors, which I think needs to be taken into account. And quite frankly, what does it say to a community when you spend taxpayer dollars to extend a street that doesn't exist now, and you have Belmont Street is in such disrepair? What are we telling anyone that lives in that community? Yeah, we're willing to put the dollars and cents into extending Windsor Place so that we can accommodate 6 or 4 apartments. And by the way, Belmont Street stays a substandard road. I think that's nonsensical. And the other thing I would say is, I'd like the consultant to let everyone know what the width was that she used in the exhibit that she provided, because I don't think it's accurate, but.
So let me interject here. If it's my understanding, just kind of, I think, viewing the screen here, before we get too far ahead, and I'm sure Ms. Hunter will answer your question, but it sounds like Mr. Eby, John, do you have an interest in answering a question that you might have just heard?
Yes, let me make something very clear. There are no township rights of way vested in Windsor Place because the subdivision was laid out in 1925. There was a lapse of more than 21 years without an offer and an acceptance of dedication. There are no township rights in that. What I was referring to in, I believe, my testimony, my discussion with the Planning Commission and my testimony at the public hearing is that it's possible for any property owner who owns land in Harrisburg Manor to develop one of those quote unquote paper streets for access to their property. That was done, for example, in I believe a lot off of Warrington Street and Windsor Place maybe 20 years ago, where a developer built a 4-unit building and built the driveway and ran the utilities in an unopened street. So the township would not be spending any dollars to improve Windsor Place to access this property, nor could it. And I'll let the solicitor chime in if necessary if I've misspoken, but there are no township rights in that right of way. There are only private rights enjoyed by any lot owner in the subdivision.
Thank you.
And I'll jump in with a comment. I believe Mr. Eby has made this correct statement of the law. I was not at the hearing, as you recall, so I don't really know much about the particular property, and I've not read the transcript because I was waiting to hear what the commissioners wanted to do with this. But as far as what I understand about Harrisburg Manor, there are many paper streets, and the rights of way exist in the other property owners in that subdivision, but they are not, public streets. And so John is correct. The township would not be opening that street if the facts are as they've been laid out here.
And also, Steve, I think I made a point on record at the hearing about spot zoning, not spot zoning, but contract rezoning. The commissioners, and again, help me out here, Steve, but the commissioners could not contractually obligate the applicant to use Windsor Place for their access. Is that correct?
That is correct.
Okay, thank you both. Ms.
Can I ask a question of the legal counsel?
Well, if you don't mind, Mr. Segrist, I'm going to let Ms. Hunter attempt to answer your question that was subsequent to the question that Mr. John Eby answered. So, Ms. Hunter, were you going to answer, you were going to jump in and answer a question?
I'm sorry, I'm not sure which question you're referring to. I'm sorry.
I'm sorry. I thought you were getting ready. You wanted to answer one, but if you think of it, feel free to chime in and we'll try to get you in there.
I think John answered it, that it's not the township that would be developing it. It would be the applicant, and it would be a driveway in that right of way, not an actual road.
Can I get some free legal advice from the solicitor?
Maybe.
Go ahead, Mr. Segrist.
Okay, good. For free time, this is great. Who would have the rights to develop Windsor? Let's see, what's that called? Windsor whatever Windsor is, a road, place, street,
Place.
whatever, into the property. Who would have the rights to do that?
Really, anyone in that subdivision, because.
Okay,
that is
so if
for
Bruce Segrist owned a piece of property in the subdivision, Bruce Segrist would have the rights to do that. Is that
Right.
correct?
Because the property owners in that subdivision can use that and, you know.
So if the developer wanted to open that road into his property, would the property owners that are beside them be able to object to that?
Not the development, but they would also enjoy the rights of access on that.
No, they would be able to object to the rights of access because they have that and aren't willing to give it away. Is that what it means?
No, exactly opposite. They would have the ability to use that, you know. in other
I'm
words,
sorry, I can't hear you.
I'm sorry, I'll try to speak louder.
Huh?
No, exactly opposite. They would have the right to use that street, whether it's in the current condition or when it's improved.
All right. Hopefully, Mr. Segrist, your questions were answered. At this point, I'm just going to go around the horn here and see if I'll just ask, and any commissioners at this point have any further comments or questions. Please unmute and chime in. This would be a good time to do that.
Well, I would like the solicitor to give us an idea of how I think I know, Steve, but I'm not the legal beagle. How would this, you're writing what's the term?
Adjudication.
Adjudication, thank you.
No,
How would that work?
No, I think John has set that out in his memo with the bullet points. I mean.
Well, I read the memo.
Right. You know, under the municipalities planning code, you're not obligated to do anything as a board. But Low Round, as a courtesy, generally speaking, the commissioners make a decision. And you as a group, you know, would make a motion directing me to prepare an adjudication either in the affirmative or the negative. In other words, give me some direction on what you want me to say in the adjudication, and I will supply the facts and legal conclusions based on the record that was taken on November 23rd. Then the next step would be you would take similar action. In other words, if you're saying you don't approve of this, you would also want to disapprove the proposed ordinance. Or likewise, if you're telling me to draft the adjudication in favor of this change, then you would likewise approve the adjudication and then also approve the ordinance making this map change.
So we got the adjudication based on which way we want it to fly.
Correct. It gives a basis for, your decision. And again, I mean, the record I think is pretty good. I'm sorry.
Then we vote on the ordinance probably the same meeting that we vote on the adjudication.
Generally, yes. And
yeah, I remember. Okay.
And I have the transcript and I have the notes from Karen Miller, who took my place that night.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Thanks. Did you get your question answered, Commissioner Shin?
Yes, I would guess now that you're maybe going to go around the horn and find out where the feelings are.
Perhaps, yes. I have, if there's no other questions or comments coming in from the commissioners at the moment, I have one more question, and I think Assistant Manager Trone, I believe she's still with us, yes. And my question would be regarding the reference in the transcript, and it's been brought up several times, I think even tonight, regarding the county's, I guess, plan or the county's comprehensive plan was referenced into, they would like to see that happen down, maybe not necessarily there, but in that region in the future. And I don't think there was anything definitive of if they had a plan laid out. And also, from what I'm learning here is that ultimately the township decides obviously we're having this discussion, decides on making zoning map changes. And so I don't know if the county considers, you know, the locality and that. And I'm just curious to know from our perspective, from a, I guess, community development standpoint, looking at the county's comprehensive plan and perhaps taking pieces of our own, is that particular area down there, you know, important enough where the county would put some pressure on us, or we would actually take it seriously, start making those changes in the future based on what I'm thinking I'm hearing from the county. I know I just said a lot, so if you can maybe try to read into what I was saying a little bit, that would be helpful. You understand what I was asking? Like where do we think we stand with regard to the counties? It sounds like it was referenced in a couple of times that the county kind of has an idea, at least, that they would like to make an area, perhaps not just here, but all over the county, more R3 for more dense housing.
I think that's maybe what they're seeing, the trend in the market. So that is something that they're interested in. They have had lots of discussions about workforce housing and that being an issue in Cumberland County. But also I think they're interested in the removal of blight, and that's something that they're definitely paying attention to. I think John was referencing a blight meeting that took place virtually last week. But typically the county doesn't put pressure on local governments to change our zoning necessarily.
You say they do not typically. Oh, okay. Okay, thank you. Thank you very much. So at this point, I think if there's no other commissioners that have any other comments here.
Mr. President, something occurs to me as you generated that discussion there. I think with respect to Lower Allen Township and density, to make some kind of, and this is my term, we're going to make some kind of density quota to satisfy the county. I think we're doing a fine job with charter homes. If you want to talk some dense living, we do not have to pick on when nobody in the neighborhood wants this, that we're going to pick that neighborhood to satisfy some county pseudo mandate. So that doesn't impress me at all. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner.
Mr. President, we have one of our people who are watching the meeting on YouTube who would like to say something, but I'm giving him instructions on how to log into the Zoom meeting.
Okay.
Otherwise, it may be, I may have to pass along his comments if he wants to type them out on YouTube.
Okay. Well, I tell you what, if he comes in, let us know, see where we're at. We'll certainly afford the time if we can. So at this point, I mean, I'm not sure, you know, I'm getting mixed signals of whether we need to take action to retable this if we want more information, or deliberate more if we need to do or can do nothing. I'm not so sure if it doesn't get moved in the first place. I'm not so sure how we would be able to do anything. So,
Mr. President, excuse me. I just got a text from a gentleman who was at the hearing, and he said the website won't let him in to talk. Tom, do you know who it is who's trying to?
Yeah, it's Mr. Lauer.
Yes. Okay. That's who just texted me.
He did reach out via YouTube, wants to make comments, but can't make comments from YouTube.
Okay.
Actually signed the Zoom meeting.
Okay.
He wants to type out his comments on YouTube. I can read them back to the board.
Okay.
Yeah, maybe he can do that. That'd be great. Mr. Solicitor, Steve, I'm curious to know at this point, if nothing gets, I mean, are we looking to actually take some action tonight, even if it's to table it? Because it sounds like John said now that we've brought it in for deliberation, we have to do something with it. But I heard earlier we don't have to do anything.
No, John's bullet point stated, you don't have to take any action at all. It appeared that you were, there perhaps if a consensus is building, that somebody wants to make a motion to direct me to do an adjudication, and you can make a decision one way or another, but you don't need to do that tonight. And this is not a situation where there's a time clock running. This is not a deemed approval situation. So you do not need to take action tonight. The purpose was to begin the discussion, make sure you had the information that you needed. But if you wanted to direct me to prepare an adjudication, you know, I'm prepared to do that. And I don't know if you've got you've got one commissioner that's expressed I believe a negative view. I don't know if you have other people that want to do the same, or if you're not ready to do that, but either way is fine.
Mr. President, I'm not in favor of kicking the can down the road. I think this has been pretty well vetted, pretty well spoken out. I would be in favor of the solicitor doing the adjudication in the negative. And then we can vote on that, and then at a future date and vote on the ordinance as well.
Okay, I'll just go around. Commissioner Holtzman, are you with us? It's not a vote, Commissioner.
I'm here.
It's kind of, we're trying to get a consensus of where to drive this discussion.
Well, I'm not in favor of rezoning, that's for sure.
And Mr. President, if I may, I believe Mr. Shin made a motion. You really need a second before you begin discussion.
Oh,
Okay, I'll second it.
I was unaware that that was a motion. My apologies.
Well,
So,
mine too. My apologies. I'll take the motion, but I thought we were discussing how to direct.
Oh,
it.
no, I'm sorry. If you were not making a motion, Mr. Shin.
Yeah, I wasn't sure whether we could tell you and have you, or if we had to have a motion to have you go through with the I'm having the
I know what you're saying.
thank you, the adjudication. I'm having a senior moment.
No, I would prefer a motion just because.
Okay, then I move that we direct the solicitor to do the adjudication in the negative. And I believe.
Second.
There you go.
okay. So is there any further discussion or comments on this? So I have a motion to direct the solicitor to do an adjudication on this matter in the negative. And I believe I have a motion from Commissioner, or a second from Commissioner Holtzman of the same. So,
Mr. President,
yes,
Mr. Lauer has just joined the meeting.
okay. Mr. Solicitor, is it appropriate at this time to let Mr. Lauer speak on this matter?
Yes, you have a motion and a second. You may invite other discussion besides the board.
Okay. Mr. Lauer, welcome to the Lower Allen Township Board of Commissioners meeting. I understand you're here to speak on the matter of, on our agenda 9B regarding the zoning map change for 701 Belmont Street. So if you are inclined, we'll give you some leeway to speak.
Mr. Lauer, you'll have to unmute yourself. Bottom right of the screen, there's a microphone icon that should have a red. You'll have to open that up so you can speak.
I'm getting there.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
There you go.
Okay. I have a couple points. First off, the residents back here got no letters that I'm aware of, and I've talked to probably 6 or 10 of them. We've never gotten a letter saying anything was going on back here. The only reason we know of it is we read it off the sign. And the variance, point 2, you said earlier, if they want to put on a 4 or a 6 or possibly something else, that would come under a variance. And that would not limit them to putting in single family homes, but whatever they might deem good for them back here. So if I understand that if the Windsor Place was extended to get access to these townhomes, does that mean that that would be the only access they get into their townhouses? Would that take Belmont off the table? Or do they get the access off of Windsor Place and Belmont? And further on that same idea, when we had the meeting in November, Dan Flynn said that there was no plans to do anything to these roads back here for the next 3 years. So does that mean we're still going to live with the roads back here the way they are and produce possibly more traffic? And like Commissioner Shin said, the two houses that are across the street from this property in question, they have small children. And streets being what they are back here, the small children tend to play in the streets because there's really no other place to go, not necessarily play, but basketball hoops in their driveway and whatnot, and a ball might roll across. So now we got possibly 10 to 12 cars coming through substandard streets with children back here playing. I don't think that's a great idea, but there's some of my concerns. And as far as doing anything about Belmont, if you would do something about Belmont Street, does that mean you're going to do something about Maple Avenue, which is actually in worse shape than Belmont?
Okay, Mr. Lauer, does that conclude your comments? Because if so, I'll work on somebody trying to answer your question.
Correct me if I'm wrong, but aren't those streets over in that area private streets and not township streets?
They're township streets because the township plows them.
They're not all, there are a couple of private streets back there.
The only private street back here would be Belmont Upland Street off of Maple Avenue, which is owned by 3 landowners.
That's correct.
And Maple Avenue, where the township property stops, is my driveway.
Okay, because I was under the assumption that some of those streets back there were private.
Yeah, just as Mr. Lauer described.
So, Mr. Lauer, does that conclude your comments?
Yep, for the time being.
Okay.
Thank you. Thank you.
Mr. President, I'd like to speak on the motion.
Go ahead, Mr. Coates.
Thank you. I just want to echo my comments. I made several comments on the record of the hearing of November 23rd, echoing my concerns, and I believe those concerns were made through my comments and my questions of the developer and the landowners there. And I thank you all for being part of this process again. At this time, I continue to have concerns, several concerns that will allow me to support the motion to ask the solicitor to draft a negative adjudication in this matter. For the record, those concerns include the substandard roads at Belmont and the lack of infrastructure surrounding the property. In addition to that, a proposed R3 zone dropped right in the middle of what can only be described as a single-family residential neighborhood. The proximity to the other multifamily units it's not close enough for me to be comfortable putting more multifamily units here. So, Mr. President, with that, I'm prepared to vote on the motion. I thank my colleagues, Commissioner Shin and Holtzman, for comments as well, and prepared to vote.
Thank you, Commissioner Coates. Commissioner Holtzman, can you, if you're done talking right now, can you just mute because we're hearing some background noise?
Okay.
Thank you. But if you need to talk, just unmute and chime in, please. Commissioner Black, I'm just going to ask, just because I want to clear the air. Maybe this is something for Mr. Minor as well. Are you you absent from these discussions right now intentionally? At the hearing, I think, abstained from the discussion, and I just wanted to be sure before we took any action.
My firm designed this concept. We felt it was a good way for private dollars to do some improvement in this neighborhood. I am not going to take part in discussion, nor am I going to vote.
Okay, sir. Thank you. All right, so I have a motion and a second on the question of asking the solicitor to draw up adjudication papers in the negative regarding the ordinance 2021-02 zoning map amendment application for 701 Belmont Street. I just wanted to make that clear. And Mr. Solicitor, remind me, please, that the decision for that would be made at a later date at perhaps the next meeting or subsequent meeting after that.
Mr. President, that's true. I tried to do it in time so that you can act at your next meeting. That's my plan, and I think I have sufficient time to do that, but there's no clock running, so that if it ended up in your first February meeting, there would be nothing wrong with that. But my goal would be to get it to you in time for your January 25th meeting. And then just address Mr. Lauer's comments while I have an opportunity. This came up before, maybe he didn't hear it. This was not a variance issue. This was addressed by Ms. Hunter. That's before the zoning hearing board, and there's very special criteria for a zoning variance. This is a zoning map change. His other question was, can the people, if there was redevelopment back there, could the people residing at this multi-family structure use Belmont? And indeed they could use any street in that subdivision. So even if the Windsor Place was open, that would not foreclose them from using any access available to anyone else in that subdivision.
Okay. So I hate to just keep putting more questions here. So, and this is a lack of knowledge on my part of this process from this point, I guess, moving forward. The adjudication then, one way or the other, if you're directed to do that tonight, comes back, the board will vote, I would assume a roll call vote at the next meeting. And if it passes in the negative, obviously the issue is dropped, or passes in the affirmative. If it passes in the negative, where does the issue stand at that point?
No, I think at this point, you're going to have an opportunity to review what I draft. So
Okay.
I just need direction on the adjudication. My guess is that if you direct me to do it in the negative, that the board is going to adopt it in the negative, saying that you disapprove of this change. Therefore, the similar action would be to take a roll call vote and also disapprove the zoning map ordinance. You understand? Did I make that more clear?
You mean at another meeting?
They can be done at the same meeting, but you would want to have, like, I will give you a draft to review before your meeting. But if you feel that I've captured the essence of what needed to be said, and the findings and fact and conclusions in law are consistent with the testimony, you can also take an action at the same meeting to disapprove the ordinance.
Okay, I understand. So back to, I have a motion and a second to direct the solicitor to draw up an adjudication in the negative on this matter. So Commissioner Holtzman and Commissioner Kutz, you guys, everybody seems to be ready to vote on this. If there's no more
question, Mr. President.
Yes, Commissioner Shin.
I call for the question.
Oh, excuse me. So therefore, all those in favor, please say aye.
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 Any opposed?
Opposed?
Commissioner Holtzman?
Yes. Now, restate that question for me.
Okay. I have a motion from Commissioner Shin and a second that you second, in which we're gonna direct the solicitor to write an adjudication opposing this matter, basically in the negative, that will come to us at a later date. So,
Okay, I agree.
I'm going to call for the question one more time to be absolutely certain. All those in favor, please say aye.
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 Any opposed? Motion carries 4-0, and Commissioner Black is abstaining from the vote.
Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you.
So moving on, 9C, discussion and possible action, request to waive fees associated with the construction of Pad 3 in Lower Allen Commons. And I assume Assistant Manager Trone, you're going to handle this?
Yep, this one's mine. On behalf of the Lower Allen Township Development Authority, I'd like to request a waiver of the fees associated with the construction of Pad 3 in Lower Allen Commons. That is the much discussed specialty grocer pad at 17,500 square feet. The fees that I would be looking for a waiver from would include our building permit fees. So it would be our application fee, a zoning fee, and our UCC permit fee, which is the one that uses our building valuation data table. And in total, it would be about $18,239.90. It's not out of the ordinary for Lower Allen to waive fees for other authorities for projects that are helping the township. So for instance, for the sewer authority or the authority. We also, the township waives the fee for demolition of the Bonton building. And if not, then this revenue would come in and it would be captured in community development's revenue.
Mr. President, I'd like to move to table this item at this time. I'd like a little bit more information. I know we didn't receive an agenda memo on this item, so I'd just like to discuss it with other commissioners and staff before moving forward.
So if I understand this correctly, Commissioner Kutz, you're making a motion to table 9C regarding the request to waive the fees associated with the construction of Pad 3 in Lower Allen Commons. So I have a motion. Do I have a
second?
I have a second from Commissioner Shin.
I guess if we table it, we can't discuss it. Motion to table, we have to vote. Is that right, Mr. Solicitor?
Right, we have motion and a second. We need to take action before you can.
Oh, I thought it was to table. I'm sorry.
But no, it is the table, but I'm
Okay.
saying you need to take the action on this
Okay.
motion before you.
So the motion to table doesn't allow for conversation, let's say, or further questions.
We have to vote on the table.
Got it. So I have a motion and a second to table this item for a later date. All those in favor, Commissioner Holtzman, all those in favor, please say aye.
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 Um,
Any opposed?
no, aye. No, the vote is no. I'm opposed.
You're opposed to the table.
Yes.
Okay, so I didn't get anything clear from Commissioner Black or Commissioner.
I'm opposed.
Commissioner Black's opposed to tabling.
Opposed.
Commissioner Holtzman is opposed. The motion passed 3-2.
Now, Mr. President, here's why. The motion to table doesn't give us a chance to really, I mean, I guess I have a couple of questions that maybe will satisfy Commissioner Kutz if we get those things now, as opposed to looking at it later for some reason. We have an idea of what the fees would be, Aaron.
Yes. It's $18,239.90.
All right, and over the years, we have not charged ourselves fees. But what we're talking about here is this would be third party, right? This would be, and like any other builder coming in, right? And we'd be waiving their fees.
I mean, I feel like yes and no. I mean, the Development Authority is also carrying out a mission that the township agrees with, that we're trying to redevelop an area. So in the sense that this is moving forward, the idea of a redevelopment, then I think that it still is in line with what the township is doing.
Okay.
But also, yes, this is not a township project. It is a separate entity, and
Kind of an incentive for that construction company to come and build what we're asking them to build. Is that what we're saying?
well, since the Development Authority is taking on the mission of building the building themselves, rather than a private entity building the building, now that the Development Authority is going to be shouldering the cost.
Okay, so it's the authority that's going to be paying the fees.
Yes.
All right. See, that to me is it's like a sister organization that we're trying to promote this here and get this going so we can get it all out of our backyard. Off our laps.
Commissioner, and to clarify, I've asked for the motion, and I made the motion to table it because we didn't receive an agenda memo on this. So ordinarily, if we receive a memo on something that I have a question about, then I have the opportunity to ask staff before Monday's meeting. Even though we don't get our packets till late Friday night, that gives me a little chance on Monday to ask staff and discuss with commissioners. So since we didn't have any prior information on this until tonight, I'd like the chance to speak with staff and other commissioners about it before voting on it. That's why I just wanted to wait till next meeting to do it, and maybe we could get some more information. That's my position on it. I'll be a no if there is a motion to waive the fees.
With all due respect, I guess I'm comfortable with it. So therefore I agreed with the table to start. Well, I guess I didn't agree with the table. I agree with asking questions. I don't know how many more questions could be asked or what answers are out there.
Commissioner, it would be actually to ask questions of commissioners offline. It would be to speak with members of the Development Authority offline. Just opportunities that I don't have tonight in open session to be able to do.
Okay, that's fair.
And the item was listed for discussion and possible action, so it's not required that there's an action tonight.
Aaron, will you please tell me what the timing, the appropriate timing would be on this to make sure that we don't overlap? 'Cause I don't think anyone here tonight wants to delay something or postpone something that's going to cause a hiccup in getting that site moved. I think that's clear with all of us. I believe that. So is there necessarily a problem with maybe putting this on our next agenda?
I would expect the architect to complete the design of that building around the end of the month. And then it would be coming into Community and Economic Development, the department, for review. And the only thing I was trying to avoid was it coming in here and then it waiting here for approval for a waiver or not waiver, so that staff had direction what they were supposed to do with this permit, and also an interest of not holding up the building being developed. Our next meeting is the 28th, so it's going to be around the same time frame. So I think we can make it work.
Aaron, I would hope that that staff would handle this request just as they would any other developer coming in to do this. So if we have an issue, we can use this as the model.
And they would not review a permit unless there was a check accompanying it. So that's what I was trying to avoid, that it would come in without payment.
There's the rub. I get it. Thank you.
So sounds to me like we would all be okay with taking a little breath on it. And I would just ask that I would assume we could do something via email, perhaps to get some information out, information out. So then if Commissioner Kutz or anybody else for that matter would like the opportunity to call in and talk to you or anyone else, they would have the opportunity. Maybe, I'm sure that Commissioner Kutz or anyone else who has questions will do that in a timely manner. So I would just, unless someone's going to plan on trying to move this at this point, I'd just like to move on.
Good move.
So for now, that's our direction in the interim, and hopefully we can get questions resolved. Under our manager this evening, you have a few items for us, Tom?
Hopefully they're not long discussion items. The first item is another housekeeping issue. We are looking at disposing of several vehicles and pieces of equipment this year, and according to First Class Township Code, the board has to take action to dispose of those items that are over $2,000. So this resolution lists everything. We don't expect there'll be any additional items. We think this is everything, but if something pops up in the middle of the year that we want to get rid of, we'll just be asking the board to do another resolution. But I think this covers everything.
Tom, how are these disposed of?
Most often they're sold via electronic online auction. Sometimes they are used as trade-ins.
Okay, thank you. Mr. President, I'm ready to make a motion to pass resolution 2021 R02, which is the disposal of personal property over $2,000 in value.
Second.
Mr. President, I believe you're on mute.
Thank you. I have a motion and a second. All those in favor, please say aye.
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 Any opposed? Motion carries 5-0. Next.
Thank you. The next item I have is it's time for the township to renew its permit from Pennsylvania Liquor Control Board to do our own noise enforcement. Some of you may not have been on the board the last time this happened, but essentially there's a process by which we can do our own noise enforcement on liquor license holding establishments. We've gotten it renewed twice. The first time it was for a year. Second time, I believe it was for 2 years, and this most recent time it was for 5 years. It does expire this year in 2021. So we're starting the process to renew that. I've spoken with the police captain and the public safety director, and they're both in favor of retaining the responsibility to do our own noise enforcement. The primary benefit is to our business community. As surprising as it may seem, sometimes the restaurant business can be a little cutthroat, and people turn each other in, or because they had a band there and it was too loud, or whatever. So we availed ourselves. We were approached probably 8 years ago now by a group of restaurant owners who asked the board to consider taking over this responsibility. And after much discussion and fact finding and going through a hearing with the LCB, the board decided to go ahead and do it, because we can hold establishments to our noise ordinance and give them ultimatums to turn it down if they are in fact too loud. So this is where we're at. It's been successful so far. We have not had complaints, as far as I know, from residents, neighbors, or anybody about loud establishments. So again, so we're asking the board to consider asking the PLCB to renew this. The process is that you adopt a resolution that asks the board, that gives us the right to petition them. So resolution comes first. The solicitor will then draft a petition to the LCB. The LCB will set a hearing date. We'll have to advertise the hearing date. We'll have to invite the liquor license holding establishments. We have the hearing, and then some point after that, the LCB makes their decision. We're hoping that they would decide in the affirmative for another 60-month period.
So we would have to have another hearing, just like we did the first time, Tom, as it's, okay.
Correct.
Yeah. That went over well, I think.
Everybody understand that?
Mr. President, I would like to move to approve Resolution 2021-R-03 to petition the PLCB to continue local noise enforcement of liquor licensed restaurants in Lower Allen Township.
Second.
I have a motion on the question from Commissioner Kutz, a second from Commissioner Shen. Is there any further discussion or comments? All those in favor, please say aye.
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 Are there any opposed? Motion carries 5-0.
Finally, Mr. President, we have an item on there. As we spoke earlier, this is not an item that was contemplated in the 2021 budget, but kind of came to light afterwards. In that our stormwater manager is spending a lot of time doing collections of stormwater fees. When we looked into moving some of that chore off of her desk so that she can be more proactive with grants and such like that, spoke with our finance director, who indicated, you know, if they get this additional duty and maybe looking for some additional help, because the genesis of it was with stormwater. I asked, of course, if the authority would have any problem using stormwater fees to help pay this you know, the salary and taxes and whatnot, and Mrs. Davis indicated they would not. That would be fine with them. Since then, we've talked about some additional duties that we could get out of this person, both in finance and also in human resources. Mrs. Paul needs some help over there keeping up with things. So where it is right now, the proposal is to bring on a person. I know we can talk about the hourly rate. There was a rate that was proposed, which a lot of people have some concerns with, including me. And so I have maybe an optional rate there, but the point would be 50% would come from stormwater fees and 50% would come from the general fund. Mr. Grove talked about moving some money from the capital budget for finance software over to the part-time line item, because we don't anticipate spending all that money on the software. Did I state that accurately, Rick?
Yes, this Rick, I don't know which Rick.
Oh,
Grove, I'm
I
sorry.
think you meant me. Yeah, yes, that is correct. There is plenty of money. There'll be enough money to cover this particular outlay in 2021, both in stormwater and in the general fund.
Well, Mr. President, I just wanted to chime in and let you know that the LATSA board is maybe picking up 50% of this person, but they're 100% behind doing it, because we know that Rebecca needs the help as well as Director Grove. So this is something we're in favor of.
Okay, and you are referring to the stormwater board? not the-
Absolutely. Yes.
Yeah, great. Well, thank you.
President.
Yes, Commissioner Kutz.
So I have this correct. Mr. Manager, you said half the salary is coming from stormwater, but you said finance is actually going to make up the other part elsewhere, so it's not going to be any effect on what we had budgeted. Is that correct?
That is correct. It's not an additional appropriation, it's a reappropriation.
Okay.
Also,
that's fine, Mr. President.
Also, while I'm there, I know that the memo went out with a rate of $13 an hour. We'd like to revise that and start it at least $14.41 an hour, which is our starting rate for administrative clerks.
That was the authority's concern as well. That are we going to get the quality person to do, what's expected? So that's good to hear.
Mr. Grove had looked at some prior people who filled similar roles, and while they were accurate at the time, I think we've maybe, I think in 2019, we revised the pay ranges after our.
That's me. Sorry. Sorry.
I thought it was outside my window here because, you know, I got
Sorry.
fire companies right
I
up
should have turned my phone off. I apologize.
to see what was coming out of the base. So anyway, that's where we're at. We're recommending 1441. That could go up depending on how skilled this person is and how much help they provide. We may be coming back with an increase because the starting rate for our billing analyst is actually $16.48 an hour. But I'm not going to go so far as to say we're looking for a billing analyst right now.
Mm-hmm. Figured out.
Rick Grove. When I first saw this, of course, my mind automatically, for some reason, went, and I know I probably just went to a panicking place, was that, you know, I want to make sure that we've solidified our stormwater fee for quite some time for people. It's brand new, and that was one of my concerns when we started working with or getting information in from the consultant on the stormwater fee, that what we wind up with, we want to be pretty sure that we're not going to be raising that. Backing off of some of my fears, my initial fears on that, I do remember over the last 12 to 18 months that there's, you know, Ms. Davis has done a pretty good job looking for grants to backfill some of that, you know, the stormwater monies and subsidizing some of that. So hopefully we don't wind up with increased fees, you know, in the time frame in which we made this stormwater fee plan out. And I forgot how many years it was, 5 to 7 or something like that. So I'm okay with all of this. I know that, you know, it seems like it's a good move. And I'm confident that the money coming in from MS for that stormwater or the stormwater authority to pay for half of this isn't going to have an impact on whether or not we would, you know, it would impact fees, be a driver for fees in the future, or a part of a driver for it. So I'm for this, folks, just so you know.
Okay. Well, if we have a consensus, we don't do hiring resolutions for part-time folks, but if there's a consensus, then we will move forward with looking for somebody.
Okay, would there be any commissioners opposed to doing this?
No.
Okay, well, you have your consensus, Tom.
Thank you very much.
Is
And
that-
I have nothing further tonight, and there is no need for an executive session as far as I know.
Okay. We have no need for executive session. We'll go to commissioner reports. I'm going to kick off commissioner reports this evening. Then we'll go around. I would just like to, again, say thank you to everybody. We're at our first meeting of January or in 2021. You know, we're start getting 2020 in our rear view mirror. And again, thank our staff, everybody for the work that you do for Long Island Township residents, businesses, and other stakeholders. I was at the Lisburn Fire Company on Thursday they invited me to go in and swear in their officers. And that was the first I had done that. Commissioner Black had done it in the past. And, you know, I'm a part of, Vicki and I are both part of the Lisburn Fire Company. And then we do participate in fundraisers when they have the joint fundraisers with Lower Allen Fundraiser or Lower Allen Fire Company as well. And I just can't reiterate enough the dedication of both the fire service folks and also the volunteers and the social aspect of the fire company down at Lisburn, how hard they work at trying to keep themselves alive out there and keep things moving. And so they've got some neat things coming up. They're getting really creative with how they're going to backfill some of the shortfalls in their finances from 2021, the coronavirus impact. So I just think they deserve a lot of credit, and a lot of that goes to the people who've stepped up out there in leadership. And that's who I swore in on Thursday, was their leadership. So if you have a chance, thank the folks out at Lisburn for all their hard work. both on the fire side and the social side. Other than that, I'm going to go around, and I think I'll start tonight with Mr. Flint.
Okay, well, thank you for the action previously this evening. I appreciate that, and I have nothing further.
Thank you. And again, I look forward to spending some time with you in the next few months. John Eby.
Okay, I'm not sure if I misheard or Aaron misspoke, but your next meeting is the 25th. And that's at 6 p.m., but there is a public hearing at 5 p.m. that night. It is a zoning ordinance amendment request. It is a simple text amendment, one sentence long, but we do have a whole hour to discuss it. So just reminding you that it's a 5 p.m. public hearing on the 25th. That's all.
Thank you. Manager Trone.
The Community and Economic Development Department is implementing its new software this week and next week. So the CED staff will be in training for 3 days, 3 whole days this week. And then next week we're going live with it. It really won't look very different to our public or to you, but on the back end, it will look very different to us. So it's a big deal.
Congratulations on your promotion, Aaron. I'm going to box it.
Tina? Nothing?
She's muted.
Oh, can you hear me? Are you good? Okay, we'll come back to you if you, John Eby?
Again?
We already covered John.
Oh, I'm sorry. Thank you.
Thank you.
The screens keep moving like they're, Captain Deven?
Thanks you for the support. Appreciate it. And that's all.
Thank you, sir. Tom, for now?
No, I have nothing other than if anybody had a chance to get on the YouTube page for Little Breachy or for the Breachy LAT, I want to throw a shout out to, and I'm sorry, I know I talked with Brad Anderson about it. I know there were other people involved, and I don't recall their names. I apologize for that, but a group of folks down there in Lisburn put together a virtual New Year's Eve page. If anybody has not had a chance to take a look at it, I believe it's still up. It's just go to YouTube and search Breachy LAT. He had a playlist on there. He had some web links to crafts and foods. And at 10 o'clock, they had a video of Little Breachy being lowered, baby Breachy. And at midnight, they had a video of the regular Breachies being lowered. So it was kind of a cool idea. Hopefully next year we'll be able to get back to regular in-person New Year's Eve celebration. But for this year, I thought Brad did just a great job with putting this page together. Take a look at it tonight or tomorrow and see everything they did. It's kind of cool.
Will do. Thanks. Is that it, Tom?
That's it.
Okay, I'm going to bounce back real quick. I had a note here on my agenda because the screens are all moving and that, and I went first tonight. I forgot to mention this. John Eby, I just want to express, if no one else on the board knows, he lost his mother, 92 years old.
Oh, sorry.
We would like to express our condolences, John. So sorry that you're going through that.
Keep you in our prayers, John.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yep. Director Hall.
Thank the commissioners for your support in all the public safety areas. One of the things that you will see is probably an advertisement for that full-time public safety officer position. You remember that you approved back at the last meeting in December the replacement. When you accepted PSO Dunbar's resignation, you approved hiring his replacement. This was back actually in 2019. We had not moved on that. So essentially, because of COVID, and we're probably going to recruit, hopefully, from the part-timers. If there's not a part-timer that's interested, the board will see an advertisement go out to replace that position. And it's already been approved, so, just in case you see that, that that's what that's about.
Okay,
And I have nothing further.
thanks, Director. Mr. Minor,
No, thank you, Mr. President.
Mr. Grove,
I'm going to repeat Dan's comment, just to thank you for the decision, and I have nothing further.
thank you. I know it looks like Scott Emerson hung with us, our employee that received the commendation letter. Is there anything you'd like to say, Scott? Not to put you on the spotlight, but you did hang with us.
Yes, I just appreciate all the the comments and thanks to everyone.
Yep. Well, we thank you for your
Thank you,
work.
Scott.
Yep. We thank you for your service in the township. Commissioner Black.
Yes, a question for Aaron or Tom. Did either of you or both of you get the letter from DEP about us receiving a grant? Growing Green grant?
I'm sorry, say that again? Did we get a letter from DEP about a Growing Greener grant?
Yeah, $63,700.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Brad said.
All right, because it was addressed to me, and so I just wanted to make sure that everybody was aware of it.
You got it.
That's it.
Terrific.
Thanks, Commissioner. Commissioner Holtzman.
I have nothing. Everybody have a good evening.
Yep, you too, Commissioner. It's good to hear your voice. Commissioner Kutz.
Thank you, Mr. President. Just want to say congratulations to our 2 new lieutenants and best of luck to the police department moving forward. And thank everyone for a good discussion tonight. It's nice to have residents on who are interested in what's going on around them. So thank you all. Have a great night.
Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner. I'll get to you in just a second, Commissioner Shin. I had one more thing on my plate here. I received a certified letter in my packet. Obviously, it came to the township. It was addressed to me from the Pennsylvania Department of Corrections, and just a synopsis of the letter. And I think what I'll do, Tom, is just give this back to you guys, and then you can deal with it with Steve if you have to. It's addressed to me, but it has to do with a Title 25, in accordance with Title 25 PA Code Chapters 271-82, whatever. Department of Corrections intends to apply to the Pennsylvania Department of Environmental Protection Solid Waste Management Program for a benefit use permit. So I'm sure that hasn't been uncommon in the years past, but it came to me, and I do appreciate that no one at the township opens my mail before I do, but I'll get it right back to you.
Yes, I always get the question, should we open this? And I said, nope, it's not our name. So
I do appreciate that, but I'll get that right back to you. I forgot about it. All right.
think for us to take care of, they'll send it back.
Yep. That's everybody, I believe, except for Commissioner Shin. Floor is yours, sir.
Thank you, Mr. President. Commissioners, managers, staff, and others. 36 years ago, upon promptings from friends and interested township residents, I began to consider making a run for the office of Lower Allen Township Commissioner. When I approached my wife for her opinion, she responded with, "Why would you want to do that?" I explained that I respected the knowledgeable individuals who had approached me about it. They saw qualities in me that they felt were a good match for the position. And with my skill set, I was seriously considering it. My wife responded, "Okay, go get it out of your system." My wonderful wife has been on to support and work for me for my 7 re-elections by working at the polls and handing out literature door to door. It has occurred to me that my name has appeared at least every 4 years on a ballot in Lower Allen Township for the last 35 years. I have run unsuccessfully for county commissioner and Lower Allen tax collector as well. In the only township commissioner race that I did not win, I didn't lose either. It was a tie, a dead heat. The Township Board of Commissioners at the time decided to appoint my opponent. During my first 6 years on the board, I was elected president. This is never a permanent assignment, so I have happily served from a side seat for 25 years. I've been the liaison to the Planning Commission, to the former West Shore Tax Bureau, to the West Shore COG. I'm a past president and have over the past 11 years served on the newly formed CAPCOG. I've been honored to serve on the Lower Allen Township Authority, and I'm very honored to be able to say that I was appointed as an inaugural member to the Lower Allen Township Stormwater Authority. It is my desire to be able to continue serving as a member of these two bodies going forward. The township has witnessed a major growth and prosperity during my 31-year career. What I have represented over those 31 years as a public servant has been a wonderful experience. My being able to work and serve with the terrific administrators and staffs has been a sheer delight. Some of you have been working at the township for all the years that I've been on the board. I've been proud to boast about the people who work and serve the constituency of Lower Allen. You are the best. I've met some tremendous people, both in the public and private sectors in my commissioner role. It's been a pleasure to serve. Well, it seems after 31 years serving on the Board of Commissioners, I've finally gotten it out of my system. I'll not be running for re-election during this upcoming municipal election season. As of December 31st, I will mark 2021, the 32nd year, as my last. Thank you for all for whatever you've done to contribute to the wonderful memories I will always have of this marvelous association. Thank you.
Wonderful. Congratulations.
Thank you for serving the residents, Rick.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, Rick, for all your
Thank
service.
you,
Rick.
It
Thank you.
we got a lot of months to go here in 2021.
I'll be there, my nose to the grindstone, and I've got enough to lose, so we'll be all right. Thank you, Mr. President, for giving me that opportunity.
Well, thanks for sharing that, Commissioner Shin. That concludes the business of our agenda tonight. Is there anything for the good of the order that anyone would like to discuss?
I sent you a chat there, Mr. President.
Okay. Oh, I did not. Captain Crone, did you have something to add?
I wasn't going to pipe up, but we did. Officer Leitner started today. We'll have him before the board at a future meeting just to introduce him to you. But I could have said that anytime. But again, we just appreciate the support moving forward, getting our command staff in line and getting the officers we need to move the department forward. So thank you.
Sure thing, Captain. Okay, and I do apologize tonight. For some reason, my screen's playing musical chairs with people. So appreciate those from the public who've contributed tonight. Of course, commissioners, as well as our staff and anyone else who was in attendance. I thought we had a good meeting, and I will officially adjourn this meeting.